Cool beans. So tonight, jamming on the ego. Titled it "Full Send or No Comprehend." I'm gonna work on my lighting. If anybody can help me with the lighting to know how to better do that. But what we have today, we're gonna go through kind of a quick lesson and then a way to kind of integrate this so that you can basically kind of if you like whatever you take away from this, apply it into your own life in a way that's best suited for your tool skill set and like the way that you naturally approach life so that it fits for you, and decide if you're done in one category and would like to start working your way into another. That'll make more sense in a moment. Stop me if you have any questions, but we're just going to dive straight in. First, over here, I want to talk about the energetic power of the ego. Anybody here like anybody heard the phrases "ego is not my amigo" or like "kill the ego, ego is the enemy"? Anybody heard that before? Yeah. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Like, yeah, definitely kill the ego, or you're like, no, I don't agree with that, or anybody, or just indifferent. Anybody have any thoughts on
I, I I've been always about it. Like I think that makes you unique. The ego is like the one thing that's like it's like the other side. And everything's like, oh, it's what society wants you, but the ego that sort of makes you that unique, that twist. So
that?
I mean, again, you got to keep it in check. You can't be super egoing it and shit. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Like nailed it, and it was hilarious. You're vibrating in your massage chair as you started.
I'm trying.
But yeah, you and I were actually kind of just jamming on this a little bit on our one-on-one because it's like without the ego, what am I? And quite literally, like yeah, you put your special twist on life, but I'm going to take it a step further. That without the ego, we're not even getting out of bed. We're ceasing to exist. And yes, the ego gets a bad rap because in this day and age, there's possibly we're out of balance. There's a little bit too much of like the chest thumping or like the me. I did it, but I would like to put a shift on that story and say that truly, I mean, all of us here are working to do, you know, quite the opposite. And like, how can we use our gifts in service to uplift our audience, our frequency, our planet? So relying on the power of the ego is going to be super beneficial. And so I want to dive in really quick from the bottom up. We chatted about this recently, and we'll take a deep dive in the chakras soon. But today, remembering that like the root chakra, the base chakra, is chakra one, is all about like safety, security. Am I safe? Do I have a roof over my head? Am I going to be able to live, eat? Second chakra, still very earthly, body related. It's creative centers. It's where your inner child lives. That's like your sex organs and stuff like that. Like, can I procreate? That's all second chakra. Third chakra, that's your sense of self. That's your I'm gonna get shit done. That's the like I am like really powerful. So we can easily see that if we pour too much energy into it, it can try to become imperial. It can be all powerful, right? And it also lives just under the bridge. The bridge is the heart. Heart chakra connects us from lower chakras to upper chakras. Upper chakras are like our spirit chakras, what's associated with who we were before we were a body. So the energy of this is super powerful. And as Richie was saying, yeah, if we are inflated in our ego, then it can try to like drive the train. And that's what people are talking about when we're saying like kill the ego or the ego is not my amigo. So how do we differentiate between like ego at the helm or capital I, like higher self driving the train? And how can we then put the ego as like the first mate? Cool. So to begin, I want to ask, when do we need the power of the ego? Anybody have ideas or like times in life where it's like, yeah, it's super important, and like I'm glad I had the power of this energy center.
I think when
Me
you
too.
need a competitive edge,
Competitive edge. Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. So any competition, um, like fitness, and Rich just went up for a job, like that kind of arena. Absolutely. Yeah. Matt, will you say something?
No, I mean sometimes in your creativity,
How so?
depending on what you're trying to come with, like if an idea is to like come up with something, be like, oh, I think this should go here, like, or compared to like, oh, someone didn't do that, like making a decision.
Oh yeah, decision making. Absolutely, bro. Yeah. We'll dive into that in a minute, but like that's kind of like the aloofness, or just like the wallflower, is like egoless, or probably doesn't have enough egoic power. So the flip side, as you're saying, it is that like I'm gonna make the decision. I'm gonna call the play. Certainly, you get to see that running your business, I'm sure. So yeah, super cool. Okay, I'm also gonna suggest like Justin kind of said it, like for the competitive edge in the gym, it's like, are we just going to run, like sit on the treadmill and like leave because that's what like someone told us we should do that, or are we pushing a little bit harder? Are we setting a goal? Are we like doing everything that we can to hit that goal, or even making the goal? Right. So, handful of ways that we can show up for that. Um, then, how can we leverage the ego? How can we leverage that power? Is it like built in, or is it something that we have to learn? How does it show up? How does it like leak? Anybody have any examples of like the way that like if you know yourself well enough to say, yeah, when I know I'm not being like heart centered, or like letting higher self drive the train, I see it when my ego jumps in, and therefore I become what? Anybody have any examples? I, I know for myself, it was like rage, um, as like a violent sport player all my life. When that kind of old mentality of that like machismo Rocky would would not get his way, or like really need some gum, it's like, wow, I'm gonna lose it and fucking go berserk, and it's like that's not that's an unhealthy, that's an inflated ego. That's ego's driving the train. You know, like if I power through this and use all my strength and rage, then I can get it done. So anybody else have an example of that, of like how else can the ego show up in its ugly ways?
Yeah, maybe like checking out what other people are saying or telling you to do. In a way, I tend to do that.
Yeah, elaborate on that. What do you mean exactly? So just like,
And I don't think someone says something or like telling me what to do, something that's there. I'm like, just kind of stop listening, go into my own world and like check out of a situation. Something like that is like, I
yeah.
guess, one of my coping mechanisms that maybe takes over with my ego. It's like, I don't know, this doesn't serve me. Whatever. Just maybe stop unintentionally sometimes, but like sometimes intentionally, and just be like, no, no, they don't know what we're talking about. Not worth it.
Uh-huh. So yours is almost like as compared like to mine, as paralleling here. Yours almost is kind of like an inward dialogue, versus where mine was kind of like this outward expression.
Probably in a way, yeah.
I see that though, because it's like the energy sounds like it's still the same. It's like a wall goes up, right?
It's a wall, yeah.
Um, yeah. All right. Super cool. Anyone else? It's good to recognize how, like, when we're not living with our higher self at the helm, what's taking over, what emotion is, or what process is happening. Justin, you have any ways?
Uh, I mean, I guess maybe overthinking a bit.
Okay, so when you're overthinking, you're allowing ego to drive the train.
Over analyzing maybe something. I don't know though. I don't know. That's not necessarily I mean,
can vibe
honestly,
with that,
like
dude. Yeah.
what was coming to mind is just like 50% of what you said and 50% of what my brother said.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, no, I get what you're coming from though, because there's honestly that level of if the mind is trying to control the situation, then by default we're not living from our upper chakras. If we're just trying to think our way into something or out of something or through
Yeah.
um we're not allowing ourselves to be present with it. So yeah, absolutely. If we try to think our way through something, so good to recognize. Yeah, Rich, you got one? Any ways that you see that? I call it my like leaky rage syndrome, LRS. It's it's a cousin for irritable bowel syndrome, but it's a little bit different. Similar though.
I would say letting like your thoughts like control like you just getting in your head is what I call it. Like saying like I mean perfect examples today where I was just like, you know what, it's a great deal, but I tried once and that's good enough. But then just sort of letting that negative flow go and let it sort of control the way I went and my attitude. Like I was really bumming today, but like after thinking about it, I was like, wait, why? Why am I letting that mindset control my life?
Ah, super cool. Yeah. So that was a perfect example too of like a stop to it, is recognizing it and then questioning it. Because it's clearly it's outside of ourselves, and when we recognize like we're not subject to it.
Right, right. So can I go with you? So you educate.
What is it? Guess the massage is over. Then hopefully it's a happy ending still. But by doing that, we're subjecting, like we're no longer in it. So I love that example that Richie just gave, because by questioning it, we're saying I am not it. It's outside of me. How can I like put that barrier and say this is not me? I'm gonna question it and then therefore learn about it. It's super cool. All right, Quinn, if you can talk, do you have any of those, dude? It's good to.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I literally my TV just turned on and YouTube just went on from where I have no idea.
It's a part of the
Unbelievable.
happy ending sequence in your massage.
Fucking ghost.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have a waterfall and two girls with me. Sorry, buddy. Someone else's thing. No drones.
Have you seen that South Park episode with the shake weight?
Yeah.
Let me call you a cab. All righty then. Quinn, if you can hear us, I'll give you 5 seconds if you want to throw in a way that you see your ego try to take over.
Let me see here. Yeah, definitely similar to you, maybe a little rage sometimes. So yeah, it's kind of, just gotta chill out. I think I talked about it before with you. Just kind of, maybe take a step back, be grateful.
Sweet as, bro. Yeah. Cool, man. Good to know what it is, so that when it's popping its way in, it's like, oh no. I mean, let me use your power.
Yeah.
And funnel it into a sick leg day instead.
Yeah.
Cool, bro. Awesome. All right, so let's keep cruising. Where we need to take caution. So that was kind of this one where we need to take caution with it. And then I wanted to jam on like the flow state a little bit, because Matt, I know you've done a little bit of research on this. There's a really cool book and a whole actual like company called the Flow Genome Project. A guy named Jamie Wheel started this. I want to at least bring it up because as we're talking about the ego, we're talking about the ways in which we can approach the world with like a lot of power. It's cool to recognize the differences and how people can relate to that power and how they feel, and they can tap into that flow state. And that flow state's like, nothing can stop me. I'm like, time slows down. I'm like tunnel vision, and life is just, you're so in the moment, right? So he breaks it down into like 4 categories. There's like the the hard like the like supercharger. What do you call it? The guy who like the hardcore surfer, snowboarder, that kind of person who finds the flow state there. There's like the experiential person who's like at a festival and it's like time slows down and blissed out. There's like the yogi person who finds flow when they're like at the end of their like blissful state. And there's another one, but if you guys are interested in it, it's worth checking out. I can drop you a link to them, but certainly a cool way to like leverage the power of your ego and like kind of listen to how you are specifically like communicating with what I feel like with the divine. Like that's if you're literally feeling like time is slowing down, you're in this vortex. It's a cool way to engage with your own personal ego signature. So I digress. Let's move on to this really cool thing over here. Can you guys read that at all? Matt's got his giant TV. Maybe he can. I'm gonna get you up close and personal for a sec.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, now you can see it. So
Yeah.
the way I've broken it down is this: low ego, low intention; high ego, low intention; low ego, high intention; and high ego, high intention. Okay, I broke it down into these 4 quadrants because my goal for you is to kind of like recognize where maybe you naturally line up on this and to see whether you like if that's where you want to be, if that's where your life has said like, yeah, this is right where I need to be. Cool, then be the best version of that. And we'll give you some examples in a second. And like on the flip side, if you're recognizing shit, I'm kind of tired of being in this quadrant, whatever, then what are your next steps to get out of that? Do you want to work more on your intention, on your power center, or both? So let's dive in a little bit. So the way that I've broken it down is because when I talk about like referring back to this for just a moment, we're talking about the most powerful part of our human energy centers. Then I talk about our upper chakras. That's like, to me, that's intention. That's like our cellular design, what we came here knowing that we wanted to accomplish on this lifetime. Right? What was our life mission, our core values, our life vision? We've all built our ship before. So if we pair those up, I kind of bring it as that, like our intention and our power. Okay. So low ego, low intention. The lower octave of this is lost and confused because you don't know what you're doing. You don't have like a mission and you don't have the power to accomplish it anyways. Okay. The higher octave of this, as I've put it, is like the wandering sadhu. To be a monk and just walking through life blessing people. You know? Your intention is just to bless. There's no real ego still. And then your intention, like you're holding it down. You're holding it down for the collective. Okay. There's other ways of doing that as well. I mean, there are I gave some other examples in this podcast, but like what are some other ways that if you're in this category, low ego, low intention, kind of like the wallflower, where can we go from there? Like, where else? Like, what's another way that we might see a person like that engaging with life? Any ideas?
Would that be someone that's like depressed or just like had a big blow? Like that person maybe like lost a friend or lost someone that they're just like, they might be goal driven before, but like they've lost their way.
Absolutely. I think that's like a huge, like great point to bring up because hopefully if we're here, it's like we're working on something, you know?
Yeah.
Trying to find some power or we're trying to find some reason, you know? But I think so. This is kind of like the Eeyore. or the wandering Sadhu. If you're gonna stay like low ego, low power, and low intention, then like wander through life and still bless people or something, you know? Yeah. Okay, let's move on then. So let's go here. Low ego, high intention. Low ego, so not a whole lot of like power or like drive, but really like purpose driven. I say that the lower octave of this, or the devolved form of it, is like stuck or kind of like aloof, right? Low ego, high intention. It's like we can't quite get out of our own way, right? So if you relate, if either of you like, if anybody relates to that, it's like, at what points are we like how at that point can we say, okay, if my intention is high, how can I continue either bringing up the power centers, or how can I continue just like pouring into my intention? I say that the elevated version of that is the like teacher or the counselor type, right? Somebody who wants to maybe say like, I'm not gonna take the steps I need to like entrepreneur this shit and like start my own thing. I want the structure because I'm like passion driven, right? Um, so maybe I'll join like a school system so that I can share my love or my mission, but I don't have to create the path. That kind of makes sense. Anyone else that might fall into that category, or that you can see you're like even in your own life when you might slip into that category? Low power, high intention.
Yeah, I definitely see it, especially in my industry and my world, and like the different body workers that I work with, and the ones that are constantly like studying and not applying, where they're intending to help out. They want to help out and they learn all these tactics and techniques, but don't apply anything.
Bro. Yes, absolutely. That's such an interesting concept. I've been guilty of it in times before too, but
Mm.
fortunately, like not for long. I got to get shit done.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's such a good point, man. It is like I think, especially in the healing community, I definitely see that quite a bit. And I'm biased. I can like I say especially because that's the community I'm in. It's probably everywhere, but you know, if we're consistently learning and like never really applying,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting. They call it kind of like a starving healer syndrome.
What do you call it?
Starving healer syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So in that scenario, we need to do some ego work. Or the ego is playing a trick in saying, like, you're doing so much because you're learning so much. You know? But you know, I don't know. We can jam on that for a while, I think, but let's break down the rest and then we can come back to it a little bit. So after that, we go high ego, low intention. Who are these people?
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Politician.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
I actually like broke this down in my last podcast episode a little bit, and that's what I was like, a good place to look is like our White House, and I don't get political, you know me, but like I'm not a fan of. You know, they're all great. They all do their own jobs, like whatever. But I mean, even to get to that point, it's like you have to do so much work to like put your like it's me, I'm the guy, you need to choose me.
Yeah.
There, it's like, is there any soul left? Fuck, I don't know. But yeah, and Kardashian, a great example. I talked about like some of the athletes out there that I'm sure you can like think of a few off the bat that are like will score the game winning point and like it's like, yes, me. And like you hear him on an interview and it's like, like it's very just me centered. I call these people the toxic and annoying type. Right? What is the elevated version of that? What do you think?
We, not me.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, on the field or on the court, yeah, I'm going and jumping on my teammates, right? Like I'm going and celebrating or I'm giving praise to God or whoever. It's not like I didn't do all of this. Yeah, I may have done the work, so cool. I'm gonna praise myself in my own time, but like, um, yeah, I say that the elevator version is also like the helper or the assistant type. Okay, because if we have the power to get shit done, we just don't know where to go. Why not be like a kick-ass assistant to somebody? You know, think of an assistant coach. Think of like a partner. Like think of a housewife even, or house husband these days. Fuck, keep it PC around here. Um, but truly, if we don't have the mission, why don't we just attach on to someone else's that we do believe in and support because that's like we're good at it. So that's my thoughts on it. Um, Last one then is high ego, high intention. High ego, high intention. What's the lower octave form of this? What do you think? Quinn? I'm not saying Quinn. Quinn is not the lower octave form of this. Just heard you chime in and say
I
something.
was like, this guy right in front of me, and then right in front of the whiteboard, getting me on here with you. There it is.
I think that the low octave version of this is like an imperialist. You have a lot of power and you have a lot of direction. It's just the wrong direction. Like that's like our Hitlers.
Oh,
Like to really or like name another imperialist. That's like lot of power, a lot of drive, and then a lot of intention. So what would then the elevated version of this be?
that's what I meant to put you in that one.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's like shit, dick. Let's go. You too, dude.
People like Bob Marley, Martin Luther King.
Yeah, hell yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like funny, like I think either of those guys. I don't know, maybe not Martin, but like Bob. I don't know. I mean, if he was sitting here right now, if we were talking about the ego, I wonder what he would say about it. You know?
That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
He didn't come from a silver spoon. He needed to do shit to get to where he is, but yet his entire message is one of love and taking care of each other. But I don't know. To me, I feel like he's enlightened enough to feel like he would understand. He'd understand that, like, yeah, if I wasn't for power that I chose to lean on, it would have been a tough. Like, I wouldn't have gotten this far. I had to sign up and like take the opportunities I had. Stay focused on the message. So, all in all, that's probably the most important part. As long as the intention is there, then we can just do the work on how we're getting to show up. So that's so much of this. That's why the first thing we do when we start in this program is to build your ship. To me, that's the best way that I know how to clearly define why we're here, where we're going. What is my life vision, my life mission, my core values, and then we can do the work. Like then we can say like how can we leverage the power of your body a little bit more, your mindset, to help you align with your mission? That's that for you guys. Any more thoughts on that before we close up? Anybody see where they kind of like generally fall, or where they've been before, or where they like might dip to in different times on that?
Yes.
Good, 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 good to be aware of. Does anybody see like a spot that they want to like turn up, or say, you know what, I dip into this category too often. I need to work on either my power or my intention.
Yeah.
Which one, Matt?
I mean, having the high intention but low ego, definitely, especially when I'm trying to be a leader to people at my office and trying to not be too much of a nice guy and try to let go of my ego, but also I've got to harness my ego sometimes and be like, look, this is what needs to be done. This is how it needs to be done. I know how we got to do it. Do it. Not be like, oh, well, that was good. And it's like managing people and trying to harness people's energy. Sometimes you need to use that ego instead of just letting go and being a little more passive. Sometimes it needs to be a little bit more like, ah.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Fuck, that's it's a great example. So you're aware of it. How do you feel like you manage that when you know? Do you know before you go into that tough conversation? Do you kind of like tune into that power center, either consciously or subconsciously?
Yeah, a little bit more subconsciously.
Kind
I try. Yeah, bring it more consciously as I've become more aware over times that saying the things that need to be said, like going head on into some of that, confrontation, and just being like, look, this is what you need to do. This is how it works. Especially running a business, it's not necessarily like, oh, it's okay. I've got to be a little bit more of a hard ass. It's not my natural personality, so it's using the ego instead of like, oh, it's okay. Like, yeah, I feel like that's that I need to do.
I think too, recognizing that like if you're utilizing the power of the ego, but it's blanketed, if it's like wrapped up in your intention of this really like loving way of of what you stand for. I mean, you run a healing business. If you're drenching your direction in that same level of compassion, I doubt that it'll come off ever as like, this is what needs to fucking get done, so go do it. And instead it's like, hey, we're better together, so listen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, bro. Super cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Anyone else before we close up?
No, I mean, I think there's a balance. I think it's you find yourself going way too much ego and not enough attention. I think it's just finding that happy balance in the middle and judging the situation too. Sometimes it is you need to go a little bit more that way, but not let one or the other control the way you're driven.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, recognizing, keeping that in check. So definitely that can be kind of a good tool, maybe even like as you're approaching work, interviews, like in many situations where you need to get something done, said, and remain in your own truth. Maybe pull out that 4Q, that little category there, and see how you can apply it, where you can line up. All right. Main takeaways, real quick. Round robin, same direction. Start with Rich. Main takeaway, bro. Talk about jamming a lot of stuff.
I think there's a lot with this ego, I get the, like you said, the bad rap, but I've always taken it as a twist, but I guess the balance between the ego and the intention, just really being more mindful of it and figuring if I am being too egoic, maybe there must be some intention I can balance it with and be on the right path. I mean, again, pretty much what we chatted on before. Maybe that was part of the problem, or there are not enough ego, you know,
Right.
being the robot that they want and not be myself. So it got me insight. So
Cool. Yeah, constantly balancing. I liked, you brought from the beginning that like just asking, just questioning, like who's driving the train right now. But might be a good way because it sounds like you're kind of already doing that. So witnessing, do I need to turn this handle up more a little bit or this one? Cool. All right, Justin, take away.
I'm just gonna say it's cool to have like a little more clarity on kind of like this spinning the wheel between these four kind of like concepts of being able to be more conscious and mindful of knowing when to need to stay in one area and one zone or one space needs a little more attention, so that I can, for whatever I'm trying to accomplish, that being just more mindful and aware, so that if I'm in one of those spaces that's not serving me or serving other people, that I need to shift along to a different space with my ego and intention. So
Cool. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's constantly shifting, and then especially like situationally too. So it's maybe I don't. Maybe I want to taper my ego right now, or maybe like this is not my lane. I heard this stat the other day, or this cool idea that was like, if like if you know that you know less than 50% of what's being said, of what like the topic that someone's talking about, pretend you know nothing. I love that concept because it's like it's just our ego wants to jump in and be like, "Oh, I know, I can tell you." At least for me, like I don't know, maybe it's like my Gemini that's like, "Oh, I like the stats." To me, I had that written down on my board for a while, even because it was a cool reminder of like you don't have to know everything, and in fact, in many occasions, it's a cool learning opportunity, and it can empower somebody else to really take a teaching role if you know less than half, if you know less than 50% about a subject. So cool way to just like shift the hat sometimes too. Yes. Matt, takeaways?
Yeah, use the ego to actually, it's not at all a bad thing. Ego is a useful tool.
Cool bananas. Yes, sir. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Quinneman.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess gotta kind of explore maybe more of that like balance of like ego versus like I can't see what you guys are seeing right now, but so yeah, like I was listening, just like the ego versus using intention or whatever. Makes sense.
Sweet as. I'll send you a picture of it, dude, so you can I'll send you the whole recording, but so you don't have to listen to the whole thing again. I'll send you a picture of the whiteboard.
Okay, cool.
Sweet, bro. Yep, we always have an option. So recognizing how you want to show up, what's needed, and then moving forward. All right, homies. Always a pleasure. I'm going to be opening up another time slot here pretty soon for group calls, and I think it's going to be like a co-ed one. So look forward to that soon. But in